She does not belong here, and everyone in the room knows it. The real estate agent, a woman named Patricia Holloway with 18 years of experience selling properties in this zip code, looks at the young black woman standing in the foyer and sees exactly what she expects to see. Someone who wandered through the wrong door. Patricia has already checked her watch twice. Her real clients, the Davenports, are supposed to arrive in 20 minutes for the private showing of this Victorian estate, and she does not have time for whatever this is. The young woman wears a simple yellow sundress, carries no designer bag, drives a 12-year-old Honda Civic that Patricia spotted parking in the circular driveway like it had every right to be there. This is a $2.4 million property. This is the historic Callaway Estate, built in 1892. Shaw's restored in 2019, featured in Architectural Digest twice. This is not a place for yellow sundresses and Honda Civics. The young woman's name is Destiny Brooks. She is 27 years old. She works as a night shift nurse at Mercy General Hospital, earns $53,000 a year before taxes, and she has been standing in this foyer for exactly 4 minutes while Patricia Holloway decides whether to call security or simply ask her to leave with professional courtesy. What Patricia Holloway does not know, what she cannot possibly know because she has already made her decision about who Destiny Brooks is and what she deserves, is that in approximately 45 minutes, Destiny Brooks will own this house, not the Davenports, not any of the 7 other wealthy families who have toured this property in the past 3 months. Destiny Brooks, the girl in the yellow sundress, the nurse who drives a 12-year-old Honda Civic, the woman who Patricia Holloway is about to ask to leave. But to understand how this moment arrives, to understand why Destiny stands in this foyer with tears already forming in her eyes that have nothing to do with Patricia's cold stare and everything to do with a promise made 15 years ago, we need to go back. Back to a summer when the cicadas screamed so loud you could feel them in your chest. Back to a porch that sagged in the middle and a boy who did not have shoes that fit. Marcus Webb is 12 years old and his feet hurt. Not a little. Not the kind of hurt you can walk off. It's the kind of hurt that comes from wearing shoes 2 sizes too small for 3 months because your mother works 2 jobs and still cannot afford new ones, and the food stamps ran out on the 15th, and there are 4 days until the 1st, and 4 days is forever, when your stomach knows the difference. He sits on the porch of their rented house on Delmar Street, the bad part of Delmar Street, the part where the streetlights have been broken for 2 years, and nobody comes to fix them because nobody who makes decisions about streetlights has ever driven down this block after dark. The porch sags in the middle. His mother keeps saying she will call the landlord. The landlord keeps not answering. This is how things work on this part of Delmar Street. Marcus has taken off his shoes because the pain is worse when he walks, but the relief of taking them off is worth everything, worth the embarrassment of his socks with the holes in the toes, worth the way the splinters from the porch wood poke through. He is reading a book. He is always reading a book. This one is about architecture. He found it in the free bin at the library, its spine cracked, its pages yellowed, but the photographs inside still show him worlds he cannot imagine actually existing. Houses with columns, houses with wraparound porches that do not sag, houses with rooms that have names like conservatory and drawing room and east wing. He does not know anyone who lives in a house with an east wing. He does not know anyone who lives in a house they actually own. And then she appears. Destiny Brooks is 12 years old too, and she is running, not jogging, not walking fast. Running, the kind of running that means something is wrong, the kind of running that makes Marcus close his book and stand up despite his feet, because he knows that run, he has done that run, he has been chased down these same streets by the same kinds of boys who think taking what is not theirs is the same as earning it. She cuts across his yard without asking permission because permission is a luxury, and right now she needs cover, needs somewhere to disappear, needs to not be on the open street when the 3 boys chasing her turn the corner. Marcus does not think. He opens the screen door. He pushes her inside. He sits back down on the porch with his book about architecture and his 2 small shoes beside him. And when the 3 boys come around the corner, he does not look up. But they are 14, maybe 15. He recognizes one of them, Darnell something, who broke a kid's arm last spring over a bicycle that was not even worth $50. Marcus keeps reading about flying buttresses. He turns a page. The boys slow down. One of them asks if he has seen a girl run past, a dark-skinned girl, skinny, fast. Marcus turns another page, shrugs, points down the street toward the old bottling plant where nobody goes because the floors are rotted through and you can fall 2 stories into the basement if you are not careful. The boys take off in that direction. Marcus keeps reading. He waits until they are out of sight. He waits another 5 minutes to be sure. Then he goes inside to find the girl hiding in his kitchen with a bloody knee and tears she is trying very hard to keep silent, because crying out loud is a weakness on this part of Delmar Street, and weakness is something you cannot afford. Her name is Destiny, and she lives 4 blocks over on Garrison Avenue, which is somehow even worse than Delmar Street, and the boys were chasing her because she had walked past their corner, and one of them had said something about her body, and she had said something back, and that had been enough. That had been too much. A girl with a mouth that fights back is a problem that needs solving in places like this. Marcus finds a bandage for her knee. It is the last one in the box, and he knows his mother will notice, but he also knows his mother would have done the same thing because some things matter more than bandages. He gives her water in a plastic cup with cartoon characters on it that he has had since he was 6 and feels embarrassed about, but she drinks it like it is the most important water she has ever tasted and does not say anything about the cartoons. They sit on the kitchen floor because the chairs are wobbly, and the floor is the only place that feels solid in this house. She asks what he was reading. He shows her the book. She looks at the photographs of the beautiful houses, and her eyes go wide the way his did when he first found it. That particular kind of wonder that comes from seeing something you did not know existed. Something so far from your reality that it might as well be on another planet. That one, she says, pointing to a Victorian estate with a wraparound porch and columns and windows that catch the light. That one is beautiful. Marcus looks at it. He has looked at it 100 times. It is the Callaway Estate, built in 1892, though he will not learn this for another 15 years. To him, it is just a photograph of a house that exists somewhere that is not here. She traces the outline of the porch with her finger. I wish I could live in a house like that, she says. Not forever, just for one day, just to know what it feels like to wake up somewhere beautiful. And Marcus Webb, who is 12 years old and does not have shoes that fit, and whose mother works 2 jobs and still cannot afford new bandages, and who has never in his life owned anything worth more than the book in his hands, looks at this girl he has known for 20 minutes and says something that makes no sense, something that has no basis in reality, something that is impossible and absurd, and the kind of promise only a child would make, because only a child still believes that promises mean something. I will buy you that house someday, he says. She laughs. He does not. He tears the page out of the book, the page with the photograph of the Callaway estate, and he folds it carefully and hands it to her. Keep it, he says, so you remember. So when I show up with the keys, you know I was not lying. She takes the page. She folds it again, smaller, and puts it in her pocket. She does not laugh anymore. She looks at him with something he does not have a name for yet, something that is not quite belief, but is not quite disbelief either, something in between that will sustain her through things she cannot yet imagine. Okay, she says. I will wait. The summer ends. School starts. Destiny transfers to a different school across town because her mother finds a better apartment, which is not saying much because better on Garrison Avenue means the ceiling does not leak when it rains and the lock on the front door actually works. Marcus does not see her again for 6 months, then a year, then 2 years, and by then the memory has softened into something that feels more like a dream than a real afternoon on a sagging porch with a girl who ran and a boy who lied about which direction she went. But Marcus keeps the book. He keeps reading about architecture. He keeps imagining what it would feel like to build something that lasts. His mother, Gloria Webb, works at a meatpacking plant during the day and cleans office buildings at night. She has been doing this for 9 years. Her hands are perpetually dry and cracked. She uses lotion that smells like lavender because it was on sale at the dollar store, and she believes small things matter, believes you can maintain your dignity in the details even when the big picture is falling apart. She sees her son reading those books about houses he will never live in, and she does not tell him to stop dreaming, because dreaming is the one thing that is free on Delmar Street. The one thing nobody can take away if you are careful about who you share it with. She works doubles when she can. Why, she puts $20 a month into a savings account at the credit union, the same credit union her mother used, the same one that will one day hold more money than Gloria Webb can imagine. She does not know this. She only knows that $20 is something, and something is more than nothing. And if you put enough somethings together, you get a future. Marcus watches her. He learns. He understands, earlier than most children understand anything about the economics of survival, that money is time, and time is freedom, and freedom is the ability to keep promises. He is 14 when he gets his first job, unofficial, under the table, helping a man named Roosevelt Turner fix cars in a garage that smells like oil and cigarettes, and something else that Marcus later realizes was hope, yet the particular hope of a man who builds things with his hands and takes pride in what he creates. Roosevelt pays him $40 a week to hand him tools and sweep the floors and learn, if he wants to learn, and Marcus wants to learn. He learns how engines work. He learns how things break and how they get fixed. He learns that a man who can fix things will never go hungry because something is always broken somewhere. He saves every dollar Roosevelt pays him. He adds it to his mother's $20 a month. He does not buy new shoes, even when his old ones finally fall apart. He fixes them himself with glue and determination and the kind of stubbornness that either destroys you or makes you into something unbreakable. 4 years pass. Marcus graduates from high school with a 3.8 GPA and a full scholarship to State University, where the first person in his family to attend college, the first person on his block to attend college, a fact that means nothing to the admissions committee reviewing his application and everything to the people who watched him grow up. His mother cries when the acceptance letter arrives. She cries again when he leaves for campus. She cries every time he calls home because she is proud and because she is afraid. The particular fear of a mother who has given everything she has and still worries it was not enough. Marcus studies business. He studies finance. He studies economics and marketing and anything else that will teach him how money works, because money is the language of the world he wants to enter, and he refuses to be illiterate in it. He works 3 jobs while carrying 18 credit hours. He sleeps 4 hours a night. Then he develops the ability to fall asleep anywhere, anytime, in 5-minute increments between classes and shifts, a skill he will carry with him forever. He graduates in 3.5 years instead of 4 because time is money, and he has too little of both. He is 21 years old. He has $37,000 in student loans. He has a business degree. He has a plan. The plan is simple: make money. Not for money's sake, though he does not mind the idea of never worrying about shoes that fit, or bandages that run out, or food stamps that end on the 15th. Make money, because money is the ability to keep promises. And somewhere in the back of his mind, folded like a page torn from an old book, is a promise he made to a girl he has not seen in 9 years. He does not know where she is. He does not know if she remembers. But he remembers, and he is not finished. Meanwhile, 4 blocks over and 15 years across, Destiny Brooks is fighting her own war. She is 17 when her mother dies of complications from diabetes that went untreated for too long, because insulin costs money, and money is something they have never had enough of, and the system that is supposed to help people like them has too many forms and too many requirements and too many hoops that become impossible to jump through when you're already exhausted from just surviving. Her mother's name was Lorraine. She worked at a laundromat for 22 years. She believed in God and good manners and the idea that if you treat people right, life will treat you right eventually. She was wrong about the last part, but she never stopped believing, not even at the end. Yeah, not even when the hospital bills piled up like accusations and the collectors started calling at 7 in the morning and 6 at night because they had studied the psychology of harassment. Destiny is 17 and alone. She moves in with her grandmother, a woman named Pearl, who is 73 and fierce, and refuses to let her granddaughter become another statistic in a city full of them. Pearl works at a church 3 days a week, doing books. She teaches Destiny how to manage money even when there is no money to manage, how to make a dollar stretch until it screams, how to find dignity in circumstances that are designed to strip it away. Destiny finishes high school. She wants to be a doctor, but doctors cost 8 years of education, and 8 years is a lifetime when you are starting from zero, so she becomes a nurse instead. A 4-year program at the community college that she pays for with scholarships and grants, and a job at a grocery store where she stands for 8 hours at a time and smiles at people who do not see her because service workers are invisible in a world that values consumption over humanity. She graduates. She gets a job at Mercy General Hospital. She works the night shift because the night shift pays more, and every dollar matters when you're trying to dig your way out of a hole that was dug before you were born. She is good at her job. She is very good at her job. She has the ability to stay calm when everything is chaos, to see what needs to be done and do it without hesitation. And to treat every patient like they are the only person in the world because she knows what it feels like to be invisible, and she refuses to make anyone else feel that way. She saves lives, not metaphorically. Actually, she catches things that doctors miss because she pays attention, and attention is a skill that poverty teaches you early. She makes $53,000 a year. She rents a one-bedroom apartment on the better part of Garrison Avenue, which is still not very good, but is better than where she started. She dates occasionally, nothing serious, because trust is hard when everyone you have ever trusted has either left or died. She has friends at work. She has her grandmother. She has a yellow sundress that she bought 2 years ago for $80, the most she has ever spent on a single piece of clothing. Because sometimes you need something beautiful just to remind yourself that beauty is allowed. And she has a folded piece of paper in a small wooden box on her nightstand that she has carried with her through every move, every loss, every moment when giving up seemed easier than going on. A photograph of a house. A promise from a boy she has not seen in 15 years. She does not believe he will come, but she has not thrown away the page. Marcus Webb is 27 years old, and he is standing outside the offices of Westbrook Capital Management with a check for $2.4 million in his pocket. The check is certified. The amount is real. The money came from the sale of his company, a logistics startup he built from nothing over 6 years, sleeping on the floor of his office for the first 2. Was surviving on ramen and determination and the unshakable knowledge that failure was not an option because failure meant breaking a promise. The company employed 47 people when he sold it. 47 people who had jobs because Marcus Webb refused to quit when investors said no, when banks laughed at his credit history, when everyone who had power assumed that a black man from Delmar Street could not possibly understand the complexities of supply chain optimization. He understood. He more than understood. He revolutionized a subsector of the industry that nobody was paying attention to because nobody who came from money had ever needed to think about how goods move from one place to another as cheaply as possible. Marcus had thought about it his whole life. Every dollar saved on shipping was a dollar that could go somewhere else. Every efficiency found was a margin protected. He built something from nothing, and then he sold it for more money than his mother had earned in her entire lifetime, more money than anyone on Delmar Street had ever seen in one place. Enough money to buy anything he wanted. And what he wanted was a house. Not for himself. He has an apartment. He does not need a house. He needs to find a girl he has not seen in 15 years and give her the keys to a promise he made when he was 12 years old, with holes in his socks and no right to promise anything. He has looked for her. He has hired people to look for her. It took 3 months. Destiny Brooks, 27, registered nurse at Mercy General Hospital, residing at 4521 Garrison Avenue, apartment 3B. He has the address. He has the money. He does not have the courage, not yet. Because what if she does not remember? What if she has moved on? What if the promise was nothing to her, even though it has been everything to him? He sits in his car outside her apartment building for 45 minutes. He watches the door. He thinks about leaving. He thinks about calling instead, though he does not have her number. He thinks about sending a letter. And then he sees her. She walks out of the building in blue scrubs, tired but upright, heading to her car for another night shift. She looks exactly like he remembers and nothing like he remembers at the same time, because 15 years changes everything and nothing, because she is the same girl who traced the outline of a porch with her finger, and also a woman who has survived things he cannot imagine. He opens his door. He steps out. He calls her name. Sir Destiny Brooks freezes. She has not heard that name spoken in that voice in 15 years, but she recognizes it immediately, the way you recognize a song from your childhood, even when you cannot remember the words, the way your body remembers things your mind has tried to forget. She turns. She sees a man standing beside a car that costs more than her annual salary, a man in a tailored suit with shoes that fit, a man who looks like he has never missed a meal or worried about rent, or lay awake at night, wondering how the bills would get paid. But his eyes are the same. the same eyes that looked at her in a sagging kitchen and made a promise that could not possibly be kept. "Marcus," she says. His name feels strange in her mouth, like a language she used to speak. "Marcus Webb," she says again, and this time it sounds more like a question. He walks toward her. He is holding something, an envelope. His hands are shaking, she notices, the way hers shake after a particularly bad code at the hospital, the involuntary tremor of someone who is doing something that matters so much their body cannot stay still. "I told you I would come back," he says. She does not understand. She understands, but she does not believe. She shakes her head. 15 years, she says. "I thought you forgot." "I never forgot," he says. He hands her the envelope. "Open it," he says. She does. Inside is a photograph, the same house, the Calloway estate, and beneath it, a key, and beneath that, a deed of sale with her name on it. Destiny Pearl Brooks, owner. "I bought it for you," he says. "I told you I would. I told you to keep the page, so you would remember. So when I showed up with the keys, you would know I was not lying." She cannot breathe. She looks at the photograph. She looks at the key. She looks at the deed with her name on it, her legal name, a name that has never been on anything more valuable than a nursing license and a lease agreement. This is not possible. This is a $2.4 million property. This is the most beautiful house she has ever seen. The same house she traced with her finger when she was 12 years old. The same house she has dreamed about for 15 years while working double shifts and paying off her grandmother's medical bills and trying to stay afloat in a world that seems designed to pull her under. This is not possible. But here is the key. Here is the deed. Here is Marcus Webb. I'm standing in front of her with shaking hands and eyes that have not changed in 15 years, telling her that he made a promise and he kept it. "Why?" she says, and her voice breaks on the word. "Why would you do this?" "Because you were the first person who ever believed I could," he says. "When I said it, you stopped laughing. You took the page. You said you would wait. Nobody had ever believed anything I said before. Nobody had ever thought I could do anything worth believing. But you did. You waited, and I had to prove that you were right to wait." She is crying now. She cannot stop. The tears come from somewhere deep, somewhere that has been holding 15 years of hope and doubt, and the particular pain of wanting something so badly you are afraid to admit you want it. She holds the key like it might disappear. She holds the deed like it is a living thing. She looks at him, and she sees the boy on the porch with the 2 small shoes and the book about architecture and the quiet certainty that made no sense and made all the sense in the world. "You kept it," she says. "You kept the promise." "I keep all my promises," he says. "I just do not make very many." The showing is scheduled for 3 o'clock. Patricia Holloway has arranged everything perfectly. The Davenports are a lovely couple with old money and excellent credit, exactly the kind of buyers the Calloway estate deserves. She has champagne chilling. She has fresh flowers in every room. She has spent 3 hours that morning making sure every surface gleams, every curtain hangs just right, every detail communicates the elegance and history of this property. And then they arrive. Not the Davenports. Them. The young black woman in the yellow sundress who has no business being here. And with her, a man Patricia does not recognize, a man who is also black, also young, also dressed in clothes that do not scream wealth the way Patricia expects wealth to scream. They walk in the front door like they own the place. "Excuse me," Patricia says. "This is a private showing. We are expecting clients." The man smiles. He hands her a business card. "Marcus Webb," it says. "Webb Industries, LLC." She does not recognize the name. She does not recognize the company. She sees only what she expects to see. 2 people who do not belong in a $2.4 million house. "I am going to have to ask you to leave," she says. Her voice is polite, but her message is clear. This is not your world. You do not belong here. Go back to wherever you came from and stop wasting my time. The woman in the yellow sundress does not move. She looks around the foyer. She looks at the staircase. She looks at the chandelier that catches the light exactly the way it did in the photograph she has carried for 15 years. "This is even more beautiful than the picture," she says softly. The man nods. "It is," he says. "The owner did a complete restoration in 2019. Original woodwork, updated systems, the kind of craftsmanship you do not see anymore." Patricia Holloway blinks. How do you know that? She asks. Because I read the listing, the man says, and the inspection report, and the title history, and the architectural survey. I read everything before I buy something. Patricia's smile tightens. Before you buy something, she repeats, Sir, this property is listed at $2.4 million. Yes, the man says. I am aware. He reaches into his jacket pocket. He pulls out an envelope. Inside the envelope is a certified check. The check is made out to the seller's trust. The amount is $2.4 million. My offer was accepted 3 weeks ago, he says. We are here to take possession. The Davenports arrive at 3:15. They find Patricia Holloway sitting on the front porch steps with her head in her hands and a look on her face that they will later describe as haunted. The house is no longer for sale. The house has been sold. The new owner is inside, walking through the rooms with a man who apparently made a promise 15 years ago and spent his entire adult life making sure he could keep it. The Davenports do not understand. Patricia does not understand. Nobody understands except Marcus and Destiny, who walk through room after room of a house that once existed only in a photograph, only in a dream, only in the impossible promise of a 12-year-old boy who had nothing but the audacity to believe he could one day have everything. The kitchen is twice the size of Destiny's entire apartment. The windows look out over gardens that someone is paid to maintain. There is a library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves and a ladder that slides along a rail. There is a room called a conservatory, and another room called a drawing room, and an east wing that has 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and a view of the sunrise that makes Destiny stand at the window for 5 full minutes without speaking because she has never seen beauty like this, never imagined she was allowed to see beauty like this. "Boss, this is mine," she asks, and she asks it over and over, in every room, and every time Marcus says yes. Yes, the library is yours. Yes, the gardens are yours. Yes, the east wing is yours. Yes, the wraparound porch that does not sag is yours. Everything you see is yours. Everything you dreamed is yours. The only thing I ask is that you let me visit sometimes, that you let me sit on that porch and read, that you let me remember where I came from by seeing how far you have come. She says yes. She says yes to all of it. She says yes, and then she hugs him, the kind of hug that carries 15 years of waiting and hoping and refusing to throw away a folded piece of paper, even when throwing it away would have been the rational thing to do. The story does not end there. Stories like this never end where you expect them to end. 2 weeks after Destiny moves into the Callaway estate, a local news station picks up the story. A reporter named Sandra Chen, who specializes in human interest pieces, sees a social media post from one of Destiny's co-workers at the hospital, a photo of Destiny standing in front of her new house with the caption that explains, briefly, what happened. Sandra Chen calls the hospital. She gets Destiny's number. She asks for an interview. Destiny says no. She says no 3 times. She says no because she has never trusted the news, never trusted the way stories get told about people who look like her, never trusted the framing that turns real lives into inspiration porn for people who want to feel good without doing anything. But Sandra Chen is persistent, and Sandra Chen is also black. And Sandra Chen shows up at the hospital one night with coffee and a willingness to listen that feels different from the usual reporter hunger for content. She tells Destiny that she wants to tell the story right, that she wants people to understand not just what Marcus did, but why he did it, and what it means, and what it says about the world that such a gesture is considered miraculous instead of normal. "What do you mean?" Destiny asks. Sandra sips her coffee. "I mean," she says, "that in a just world, every child who grows up in poverty would have access to enough resources that they could keep their promises. In a just world, your mother would have had insulin. In a just world, Marcus would have had shoes that fit. The miracle is not that he bought you a house. The miracle is that the system did not crush him before he had the chance to try." Destiny is quiet for a long time. Then she says yes. The interview airs on a Thursday. By Friday morning, it has been shared 400,000 times. By Saturday, it has been picked up by national outlets. By the following week, Marcus Webb is getting calls from every major network, every business publication, every podcast and radio show and TED Talk coordinator in the country. He says no to most of them. He is not interested in being famous. He is not interested in being a symbol. He made a promise and he kept it. That is all. But the story takes on a life of its own, because stories like this always do in a culture that is starving for hope and willing to consume it in any form. People send letters to the Calloway estate, hundreds of letters, thousands. And they send letters to Destiny and letters to Marcus. They send letters that say, I made a promise too, and I'm going to keep it. They send letters that say, I thought it was too late, but now I know it is never too late. They send money, which Destiny donates to a free clinic in her old neighborhood. They send prayers, which Destiny appreciates more than she expected to. And they send hate, too, because there is always hate when a black woman receives something that the world has decided she does not deserve. They send messages calling her a gold digger, a fraud, a welfare queen, every slur and accusation that America has invented to justify its original sins. She does not read those messages. Her grandmother, Pearl, who has moved into the East Wing and takes her coffee in the conservatory every morning because she is 78 years old and she has earned the right to drink her coffee wherever she pleases, filters them out before Destiny can see them. Some things, Pearl says, are not worth the energy it takes to be angry about them. Destiny is learning. She is learning that having money does not solve everything, that owning a house does not erase the scars of not owning anything, that trauma lives in the body long after the circumstances have changed. She still wakes up at 3 a.m. sometimes, heart racing, certain that something has gone wrong, that the key will not work, that the deed was a mistake, that someone is going to show up and tell her it was all a clerical error and she needs to leave. She still checks her bank account every morning, even though there is money in it now, even though Marcus set up a trust that will cover property taxes and maintenance for the rest of her life. You cannot erase 27 years of scarcity with one grand gesture, no matter how grand, but you can start to heal, and she is starting. Marcus, meanwhile, has returned to work. He sold his company, but he did not retire. He is 27 years old, and he has too much energy to sit still, too many ideas to stop building. He starts a new venture, a foundation this time instead of a company, focused on providing zero-interest loans to entrepreneurs from backgrounds like his. He calls it the Delmar Fund, named after the street where he grew up, the street where he sat on a sagging porch and made a promise he should not have been able to keep. When in the first year, the fund provides $4.7 million in loans to 127 businesses. In the second year, the number doubles. He hires people from his old neighborhood, people who know what it means to start from nothing, people who understand that a dollar is not just a dollar when you have never had one to spare. He visits the Calloway estate every Sunday. He sits on the wraparound porch with Destiny and her grandmother, and they drink lemonade and talk about nothing and everything, and sometimes they sit in silence, because silence, when you are surrounded by people who understand you, is its own kind of conversation. He does not live there. He has been offered. Destiny has asked him multiple times to move into one of the 14 bedrooms that she cannot possibly use by herself, but he says no. This is yours, he tells her. This was always supposed to be yours. I do not want to own it. I do not want to live in it. I only wanted to give it to you. She does not understand this entirely. She does not understand how someone can give away $2.4 million and not want anything in return. But she is learning that some people make promises because they mean them, and some people keep promises because they are incapable of imagining a world where promises do not matter. Marcus is the second kind. He always has been. Patricia Holloway, the real estate agent, reads the story in the newspaper on a Sunday morning. She reads it twice. She looks at the photographs. Destiny in her yellow sundress, standing on the porch of the Calloway estate. Marcus beside her, not smiling exactly, but radiating something that looks like peace. The headline reads, "The Promise That Changed Everything." She thinks about the day they came to the house. She thinks about the way she looked at Destiny, the assumptions she made, the security call she almost placed. She thinks about 18 years in real estate and how many people she has dismissed based on what they wore, what they drove, what they looked like. She thinks about the word belong and who gets to decide. She puts down the newspaper. She picks up her phone. She writes an email to her brokerage's diversity committee, a committee that has existed in name only for 6 years without ever actually meeting. She suggests they meet. She suggests they talk about implicit bias training. She suggests they examine their own practices. She does not know if it will help. meant she does not know if anything she does can undo 18 years of assumptions, but she is starting. And starting, she is learning, is the only way anything ever changes. The final scene is not a scene at all. It is a moment, quiet and unfilmed, that happens 6 months after Destiny moves into the Calloway estate. It is a Sunday in October. The leaves are changing colors in the gardens that someone is paid to maintain. Destiny is sitting on the wraparound porch in a rocking chair that does not wobble. Beside her is the small wooden box that has traveled with her through every move, every loss, every moment of her life since she was 12 years old. She opens the box. She takes out the folded piece of paper, yellowed now, soft from years of handling. She unfolds it for the first time in years. The photograph is faded, but still visible. A Victorian estate with a wraparound porch, columns, windows that catch the light. She looks at the photograph. She looks at the house around her. They are the same. They are exactly the same. And she cries, not from sadness, not from joy, from something in between, something that does not have a name. The particular emotion of realizing that the impossible has happened and you were right to hope, and the world, despite everything, is sometimes capable of keeping its promises. She puts the photograph back in the box. She closes the lid. She sits on the porch of a house she owns, a house that was given to her by a boy who remembered, a house that proves that some stories end the way they are supposed to end, even if most of them do not. And somewhere across town, sitting in a rented office where the Delmar Fund holds its weekly meetings, Marcus Webb is reviewing loan applications from people who remind him of himself, people who have nothing but audacity and determination and the unshakable belief that if they work hard enough, they can keep their promises too. He approves 7 applications that afternoon. Each one is a seed. Each one is a chance. Each one is the beginning of a story that might, if the world cooperates, end the way this one did. So here is the question, the one that remains after the cameras are off and the newspapers have moved on and the viral moment has faded into the endless scroll of things that almost mattered. What promises have you made? What promises have you kept? What promises have you forgotten? And buried under the weight of practicality and pessimism and the reasonable adult belief that promises made by children are not binding, that dreams spoken aloud are just words, that the gap between who you wanted to be and who you became is not a failure, but simply the way life works. Marcus Webb was 12 years old when he made a promise he had no right to make. He did not have shoes that fit. He did not have food in the refrigerator. He did not have any of the resources that promise-keeping requires. But he had the audacity to believe that he could change his circumstances, and the discipline to actually do it, and the memory of a girl who did not laugh when he said something impossible. What do you have? What are you willing to do with it? The Calloway estate still stands on the corner where 3 neighborhoods meet. Destiny Brooks still lives there. Her grandmother still takes her coffee in the conservatory every morning. Marcus still visits every Sunday. The porch still does not sag. The windows still catch the light. And somewhere in that house, in a small wooden box on a nightstand in the east wing, is a folded piece of paper that proves something most people have forgotten how to believe. That some promises, the ones that matter most, are kept not because they are easy, but because the person who made them refused to become someone who breaks them. What kind of person are you going to be? What kind of person have you already become? The answer is not in what you say. It is in what you do. It is in the promises you make and the ones you keep and the distance between the two. 15 years is a long time. It is also not very long at all. When Destiny waited, Marcus remembered, and a house that once existed only in a photograph became real because 2 children from the bad part of town refused to believe that where they started had to be where they ended. Your story is still being written. The promises you make today will become the person you are tomorrow. Make them carefully. Keep them completely. And when the world tells you that it is too late, that you have missed your chance, that the gap between your dreams and your reality is too wide to bridge, remember this. Somewhere in a Victorian estate, in a city you have never visited, a woman is sitting on a wraparound porch that does not sag, holding a key that used to be impossible, living proof that the only promises you cannot keep are the ones you choose to break.